Okay, Chorda, Díomh agus fáilte ag an Oíche Eolais seo do hiistí do Chorda na scoile, but díorthir tuismitheoirí cuimhnóirí daltaí atá sa céadú for láthair. So parents, guardians and friends, you're very welcome to the information even this evening for our current first years who started with us. They've completed 1 month in school, and we started this information night, I suppose, because there's probably more questions to be answered at this stage rather than last May or April when we met last. So, Sinna fáil go le níthe oscailte an seo. So to fáilte rómh an seo, hopefully we'll answer as many questions as we can. On that note, you'll see on the right hand side there's a Q&A question an seo. So if you have any questions during this this presentation, just current a question sin agus big mehéin to mehéin an seo. Tá Stephen O'Coolan, príomh tánaiste lom an seo freisin, Lína, agus a Katrina Nic Donica and Kenner Blina, the yearhead, is here as well. So over the next 40 minutes, we will go through as much as we can. Hopefully we'll answer as many questions as we can in the information that we show you. And then we'll also, if you have any questions, please put them up on the right hand side and we will try and answer them during the show. We're also doing a recording of this presentation, and Big Share Fall it'll be available on the school website Trish and Corrie after this presentation. So just going to Corrie already. Ready go over. Okay, so mar soldíh agus bhú me le riantíh an bhís caite agus is teachtasteach ag Búlalinn. You've met me before and outside of the school gate, but the main people involved, I suppose, in your students' first year in the school would be myself, the principal, Owen Callig, tá Stephen O'Coolan and Sean Freshen. I'm Príomh Tánaiste, the deputy principal. To Katrina Nic Donica, the yearhead, is here as well to talk in a few minutes. And then in the office, you've met Marion and Carmel, who I suppose are are central to everything. So when they're missing something, or they need something, or you need to ring, or they need to ring home, or they need to be collected, well, it's Marion and Carmel, I suppose, that you see more than anybody. So they have a really important role as a sculpture. Then we have Leona de Borca, who's our Munter Takio Folma learning support. So again, if you think you have a concern regarding learning support, you can see Leona's email is down there, and definitely worth sending her an email or contacting the school and asking for Leona to give you a ring. And finally, we have a career guidance teacher, school and a school counsellor, and that's Patricia in the school as well. So from a career point of view, hopefully we don't have to worry too much just yet, but from a counselling point of view, and if there's a concern or there's an issue and you feel we need to be aware of it, and especially I suppose Katrina here, who will be talking in a second, she's here as well, but we have a school counsellor on site and is available to our first year students. So I'm going to pass you over to Katrina, and then myself and Stefan will be coming in. You'll hear us speaking during some of the slides, and we'll just be given whatever information we can over the next 40 minutes. Okay, so Gurmila Magov, as Ben McKindliff, Igaun Tamalin. Okay, so let's fill it on the right.
Okay, Diri Bechorda, is Misha Katrina Nic Donica, agus Maradurt ón chasmilh hana ag Oíche oscailte, agus chasmilh freisin ag níos túisce sa bhliain nuair bhí cruinniú an dochtú agan de thuismitheoirí bliana híon a bhí tar éis ghlacha le háit. Dús bara bhálam molla more horts gonna scholarly a Hanukkah Sach in Kievan in Mliana. I would like to commend the students that have started with us in first year this year. They are a great bunch of students. I'm delighted that I'll be working with them, not just this year, but through to second year and through to third year again. They're very mannerly. They're making a huge effort to speak in Irish, which we're very happy with. And also just their general energy is very commendable, and we're very happy that they're settling in quite well. Now, I'm sure not everybody might be able to say, you know, some students might be finding it more difficult, but in general, me and Owen and Stefan and the staff in the school are very happy with the first month that they have spent with us here. So as I said, I will be with these students for the next 3 years, and I'm here to help them, I'm here to advise them, and I'm here to guide them as well as I can for the first 3 years. I will also be an ask or a connection between the home and the school. So if at any stage you've any question in connection with how they're getting on in general, or something that's happened outside the classroom, or any question about being absent or anything like that, you can just pop me a quick email at katrina.nicanacha, you can see it there, at gretb.ie, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. So I'd just like to mention that we'll have somebody joining us in a while talking about Planet Youth and a survey that was done based on the students in the school. You'll hear more about that later. So I just want to run through a few basic housekeeping issues here, and just so that you know what way the school day pans out for your children. So as you know, school starts at 8:45. The classes start at 8:45. So as best you can, it's great to have the students here 10-15 minutes beforehand, just to give them a chance to go to their locker and to organise themselves for the day. If students are coming in at 8:45 and the bell is going, they can start their day very flustered, and it can catch up on them as the day goes on. So in as much as possible, it'll be great to have the students here 10 to 15 minutes earlier than 8:45, so that they can come in and at their own leisure go to their locker and set themselves up for the day. We recommend as well that, you know, the first month they're in and out the lockers a lot, but now that they're very familiar with opening them and the subjects that they have, we'll be trying to say to them, you know, you should really go to the locker in the morning and organise yourself for the first 2 classes. Then at break time, go to the locker again and organise yourself for the 3rd and 4th class. And then during lunchtime, go to the locker and organise yourself for the 5th and the 6th class, and then returning to the locker at the end of the day to replace the subjects that they don't need, and then to make sure that they have everything with them that they need for homework. So as you can see here, there are 6 classes in the day. The classes are 1 hour long, and they break for 20 minutes after 40 minutes in the 2nd class. And after those 20 minutes break, they come back then and they finish off the last 20 minutes of that class. We think that this works quite well for first years, because an hour is quite a long time for them. So it's good that they get a break, and also they don't need the worry of, where's my school bag? I've lost my school bag. I brought my school bag with me. My school bag is gone. So this is a huge concern for first year students. It's very easy for them to lose the school bags. So again, with them breaking during the 2nd class and again during the 4th class, they're able to leave their school bag and anything they don't need to bring with them in that classroom, and know that it'll be safe when they return after break. And they do that again in the 4th class, where they have a half an hour of a class. They break for half an hour and they return for the last half hour, and then finishing at 15:23. The classes are actually 58 minutes long as it happens. And then you see on a Friday, they finish at 13:55, 5 minutes to 2. But again, I need to emphasize the importance of giving them the best start in the day and having them here 10 to 15 minutes early, so they've enough time to go to the locker, to get their belongings, to leave their coat in the locker and make their way to the first classroom. So just moving along to the next slide. Sorry now. So with me, I have a team of teachers who are also keeping quite a close eye on the first year students. Yep, so we seem to be frozen here a bit, but I can talk on at the same time. Here we go. So, right, yeah. Yeah. Sorry, no. So along with me, I have 4 other teachers who help me and who helped me with the induction program with the first year students. So there are 5 classes, 5 class groups in first year. They're called by their names. They're not streamed by any way, and they're Dédanan, Carlson, Fola, na Kelsey, agus na Fianna. And it's good that you know which class your own child is in. So here you have a list of the Eddie Ranga, or the class tutors who work with me with the first years. And you can see we have Aidan O'Connor with Zaydanan, we have Melissa Nivrenan with Halson. I'm also the Eddie Ranga for Fola. And then we have Rebecca Donoghue with Nakelsey and Sean Shari with Nafiana. So our role as Eddie Ranga, first of all, is teaching them OSPS or SPHE. So we'll be discussing, to be honest, for the first month, we've been helping them settle in. We've been setting up their journals, setting up their lockers, and doing induction for the first few weeks with them. But as we finish the first month now, we'll be moving on and we'll be teaching them about being healthy. We'll be teaching them about sexuality, teaching them about mental health, and all the topics that's covered in the SPHE program. During that class, for 5 minutes, we'll look at the attendance during the week, and we'll also check that they have submitted notes. So you as a parent, and Owen or Stefan will be talking about this in a minute, but you as a parent, when a student is absent for a full day, you'll need to go on to that day on VSWare and give a reason why they were absent, be it teen, sick, or whichever reason is best suited, or a description if you feel necessary. They'll also check the thuismitheoirí, which I'll be talking about. These are the yellow pages in their diary, in the front of their diary on page 17. We'll be having a look at them in a minute. Hopefully not many of them have landed home with report slips to get signed yet, but no doubt, and it's all the process of learning. In the next couple of weeks, students will be arriving home looking for signatures. So I will also check to see that they have the homework written in for the week, that they set them up for the best structure possible. And also we're there as someone to give them that extra little bit of support and influence them in the best way possible. So I want to have a look here at the Deal in Oberwala, and thank you to the two students, I won't name them, but the two students who were willing to let me take pictures of their homework journals today. And this is what we like to see when we open their homework journals. So it's a very good idea if you look at the journal on the right hand side, the one in the middle there. All the subjects are written in beforehand. So we'd ask the students, set the week up nicely for yourself. Write down the 6 subjects that you have every single day for the week. Maybe set yourself up on Friday evening, or, you know, if you have 10 minutes to spare in a class and you've been given the chance to do homework, you might be able to fill in the following week for yourself. We find this as best practice. In the last few minutes of the class, it can get very chaotic. The students can get panicked. They can start thinking, oh my goodness, where am I going next? Have I got my books? Have I got my bag? Which floor is it on? And we think that by having the subjects written in beforehand, all they need to do is quickly write in what homework they have. And then when they open their journal, you should see every single day that something is written in, that they do have work to do. And basing it on homework, we would say that students have about an hour and a half of homework. They shouldn't be an hour to an hour and a half. They shouldn't be spending more than an hour and a half on it, and they definitely shouldn't be spending less than an hour on it either. So we'd ask you that you'd monitor this, and we'd also ask you to monitor that it's them that's actually doing their homework. We have found in the last couple of years that it's very easy for one person to do the homework and then pressure to be put on that person to share their homework. And then we find, as a teacher, I teach one of the classes, maths, we find that we have students coming in that have perfect homework every day. And then when it comes to a little class assessment, we can see a clearer picture that maybe all wasn't as well and rosy. And a lot of times it's that one person has done the homework and that they have passed it on along the class, and all looks well and rosy when you're teaching and you think everybody understands. So we'd really appreciate if you as parents could monitor that they themselves are doing their homework. And as you can see here, very happy to see this diary signed. I know some of you might be saying these students are 12 and 13, but there's so much new for them, and we would ask as parents that you would continue to be active in their homework and active in signing their journal and giving them the chance to communicate to you about their homework. So I'll just move on here. Now, I'm not sure if you have your student, your child's journal with you at the moment, but if you have it there, and if you could turn to page 17, you'll see there's very distinctive yellow pages at the start of the school journal. And I just want to run through these thuismitheoirí with you, because as the time moves on, students will be coming home with little slips, little reports written on these yellow pages, asking you to sign them. So we would see these little pages as stuff that belong to classroom management. So if your child is coming in without homework, the teacher will be making a note of it in their own journal. If they're coming in late, if they're coming in without their books, the teachers will keep a record of that. And then after three entries, the teacher will write a little report in the first section there. And as you can see, it's broken up into 5 sections. So the teacher might write, you know, no homework or gone OB thuismitheoirí. Now they might put in the dates or they mightn't put in the dates, but the main thing is that they're communicating with you at home that there is an issue with homework in this subject. Now the students are asked to get that slip signed. So we would appreciate if you could check their journal regularly and make sure that any entries that are into it are signed. Now the teacher that gave them the slip will follow up in the next class and will ask them to show the parent's signature. And if it's not signed, they will give them a second chance or a second evening to get it signed. Now, if they return the next day and it's not signed, they'll actually get an extra report in it. So that'll be their second one. And also you will receive a text from the teacher asking you to please check and sign their journal. If they're late for class often, it will go in there. Low-level disruption in class with warnings given, that will also go there if the warnings weren't heeded. So if somebody's talking or messing or laughing or inappropriately, you know, your child needs to learn where the line is, no more than with their friends, what's acceptable and what we expect from them in the classes. And there's no teacher going to say, oh, you were talking in class, give me your journal. They will be given warnings. They will be asked to settle down. They will be asked to improve their behaviour. But if it's continuous, they will also get a little thuismitheoirí. So the low level, what we would call the low level disruption and the stuff that is belong to the classroom will be filled in this. So it could take a long time before 5 entries will be in it, but the teacher who enters the 5th entry into these yellow pages will then report it and assign it to me on VSware, and your son or daughter will be getting a detention for this build-up of maybe disorganization or minor disruption to class, coming in late and so forth. And I'd just like to mention there as well that, you know, all the detentions in first year, unless it's own or SIFON that has given a detention to a child directly, will come through me. So if your daughter or son is going home and saying, I think I have, you know, detention on Friday, I'm not really sure, they need to wait until I speak to them. So I speak to them usually on Mondays and on Tuesdays if I don't get a chance to see everybody on Monday. And then they will know on Monday or Tuesday if they have the detention on Friday. It's not common practice for me to speak to someone on a Thursday and say you have detention tomorrow, because we appreciate that it takes effort to collect students at maybe 3:45 instead of 2 o'clock. So your child should be coming home if I have spoken to them about detention and letting you know that they have detention and why they have detention. So if it's not to do with these yellow pages in the school diary, then it's an entry, a more serious event, and it will be entered in behaviour on VSware. And as soon as a teacher submits that, you are able to go and check it with your VSware app. You can check if any teacher has made an account of their behaviour. So we'll say more serious behaviour, you know, being very disruptive in class. We'll say, I don't want to be giving anyone extra ideas here, but Egléireadh Drochbhas would be one that we would consider. we speak to the students with respect, and we expect the students to speak to us with respect and to speak fairly and calmly as we will with them. So if it was a case that, you know, there was very cheeky back answering, that will be put straight up on VSWare and a detention will be assigned to it. Stuff like, we'll say if somebody decides not to go to class, yeah, if they were in for the first 2 classes and then they disappeared for themselves for a class or 2 classes and then came back again without having signed out and were, we'll say, maybe in the toilet for a full class without anybody knowing, we would see that as a, you know, detention. We need to know at all times if they're not assigned to the right teacher, we need to know where they are. Again, something then a bit more serious than that would be if a student leaves the school without permission, but hopefully we won't be dealing with anything as serious as that. I'm nearly finished now. Just one more thing that I'd like to point out. So if you turn to page 4 on the school journal, you'll see the school calendar and all the different holidays are marked out there, all the different crinniche, the parent-teacher meetings, everything. So just a couple of things that you'd be interested in. The first thing is, coming up to the end of October, Owen and myself will be in contact with you and we'll be asking you to submit your Rawa over, your subject choices on VSWare. And at the moment, the students are doing 2 weeks in each subject. And that will go on for 12 weeks as there's 6 subjects in each line. And once that period is over, we'll be asking the students to pick their options. Owen will be talking about this now again, but that will all be submitted through VSWare. So it's important that you download the VSWare app and become familiar with all the stuff that are on it yourself. Also, you'll see there that our 10-week assessment will be coming up on the 13th till the 17th of November during that week. And it'll probably be 3 days assessment for first years. So 1-hour exams or something like that. So we break the school year into blocks of 10. They'll have an assessment now at 10 weeks. And again in 10 weeks, which will fall around the midterm, they will have another report which will be published on VSWare. Another report that will be based on continuous assessment, but again we'll be touching base with you again about their progress. And also another date for you to mark down is the 22nd of February, which is the parent-teacher meeting for first years, the 22nd of February. So we'll be very happy to welcome you into the school on that date. You might be saying, you know, that's a little bit far on in the year. And while it is, you must remember that some of the teachers will only be meeting your son and daughter in November, in maybe the 2nd week of November, for their subject choices. So we need to give them, I'm illuminated. So we'll need to give them a chance to get to know your son or daughter, and then it's a clearer picture. But if you have any concerns at any time, please, we ask you, if it's subject specific, your best thing to do is to contact the teacher of that subject. There's not a huge amount of point contacting me if your child is struggling, we'll say, with French. I will then have to go to the French teacher to ask the French teacher to make contact with you. So you can contact the French teacher directly. So your son or daughter will be able to show you on Microsoft Office if they go into Outlook and if they start typing the teacher's name as though they are going to send the teacher an email. So if they start to type in Katrina, my name and my email address will start coming up there. So all the teachers, it's their first name dot their second name at gretb.ie. But with the spelling, it's very easy to get it wrong. So if you ask your child, even on the chat in Teams, if you ask them just to start typing the teacher's name, so you'll see the correct spelling of the name, and then you need to add on at gretb.ie. And on that, we'd ask you not to contact us from your child's email address or not to contact us from your child's Teams account. Please email us directly, as you know, if there's an email sent back, a child might pick up something a bit different, you know, and it mightn't be what was meant at all. So if you want to contact me, and I'll be expecting emails over the next couple of days with any questions, please do. And please call the office, ask me for a call back, and I'll be in touch with you. Looking forward to hearing from you and to meeting with you and to working with you and to making this journey in secondary school as easy as possible for your children. So thank you very much, and I'll hand you over to Owen again. Gormaggy.
Okay, Gurmina Maga, Katrina, agus tá an ólas tucha doing an sin agus so thanks, Katrina, very much for that information. And as I said, this will be all on the website, this presentation, so you'll be able to go back through it again if you want, and in case you missed out on any piece of information. So I have Neil Wilson here from the Western Region Drugs Alcohol Task Force. So Neil, thanks for being with us. If it's okay, I'll keep going for a few slides here, and then I'll bring you in then, if that's all right.
Yeah, if you could just make me co-host so I can get my presentation ready, that'd be great, and look forward to speaking to you very soon.
Super. Hopefully I'll be able to do that, Neil. I hope the technology works for me here. So just, yeah, so Éadí Scoile. So to Mahane and Stefan, and show myself and Stefan are here to talk about the next few slides. So just, it's really important, and I have to say the first years have been brilliant so far. Coming to school with their proper Éadí Scoile gaclo. That's the proper shoes, black shoes, and don't let them think that the next pair of shoes they buy, they can put a logo through it. Just don't do it, okay? The black shoes are looking great at the moment. Keep it going for the next 6 years, okay? A full uniform, and what we're saying is we have the half-step hoodie now. We have the Ganzi Scoile, which we're really proud of, and they wear the Ganzi Scoile to the class. But if they're cold, and hasn't happened yet, in fairness, this school is a new school, it's a very warm school, that they can, if necessary, wear their half-step hoodie on top of their Ganzi Scoile. But we are trying to just eliminate any type of other hoodies. We're trying to eliminate a fashion parade of people having the best of the best. At least if we're all looking the same, well, it does cut me up, and there's equality between us all there. So again, just PE, very important that they're doing PE, and that they make sure they bring in their Éadí Corpidicus or PE uniform on those days. Tin roof and attendance. I suppose the basic thing is, if you're not here, you can't learn, you know, and so it's very important that all students get in the habit of having a good attendance for the whole year. So just the important thing for us is that now you can go on the VSWare app on VSWare, and you can put in an attendance note, or to say that a student's going to be absent, an absenteeism note, I should say, that you can say student A is going to be absent tomorrow and give a reason, and then we can approve that. And equally, after the event, if somebody's been sick or something, you can put in a note to say so-and-so was sick on this day, and we have a record of it. It is very important that if a student is absent, one, we are responsible for them during the hours of school. So if they're absent, we need to know where they are. And secondly, we have to, I suppose, collate all the data and the number of people who've been absent during the year, and we have to follow the TUSLA regulations. And when students miss a certain amount of days, well, then we have to report to TUSLA that the student has been missing. So if there's a reason why a student is not coming to school, again, as Katrina said, please contact Katrina, myself, or Stefan and Shaw, and we can discuss it. That's the most important thing. But I suppose equally important is that we have no record for a student being absent, and that's what we want to make sure that does not happen. Okay, so as I mentioned there, the VSWare is where we do all our communication from. So in that, you'll see our VS mail. So you would have got a link to this information session in your VS mail, but also the VSWare has your attendance. You can monitor the attendance. Are they in every class for that day? Their behavior. Has there been a thumbs up or a thumbs down behavior comment being recorded during the day? Are they absent? Again, back to your attendance. And then all results and teachers' comments are put up on the VSWare. So what I'd ask you to do is, if you have it up and running, brilliant. Just make sure that you go into it, you can see the icons for attendance, assessment, behavior, and just look into them and just make sure you're comfortable at finding all the information. If you have a problem with the VSWare, please contact the office, and Marion or Carmel in the office will go through it with you and give you all the help you can. You might find you're logged out of the VSware. That can happen if you put in the wrong password. Again, if you contact the office, we can go through that with you and show you how to do it. I will be putting up links with this presentation at the very end, where a link to how you put in an absenteeism note and how you put in support guidelines there for parents as well. So I'll be putting a number of links in with this presentation at the very end. The most important thing with the VSware is that your notifications are turned on your phone. You will not see a message coming up on your phone unless the notifications are turned on. So if you have an Apple phone like myself, you can go into, I'm not sure what the icon is again, but you can go into your phone and you should see where you put in into your settings and go into your notifications and turn on the notifications. So just to make sure that that's happening, otherwise you will not see what's happening, I suppose, from the school on a daily basis. Éann Dellen Stefan Chuck Éann Dellen nota
Tá neart Kirsten in Charles Junior in the Kirsten, so fragram a couple of can so there are lots of questions, one of them regarding the email addresses for teachers. They are indeed online. The full list of teachers is online under Fún. If you go into Fún, so about us, and the list of teachers. So the email addresses are there for the year heads and the Garmrower and all of the primary people with different roles in the school. There's also a comprehensive list of teachers. So as Katrina said there, that whose email addresses aren't there, but just use that lettering for their name with the dot in between and @GRETB at the back. And that will get them. There's another question regarding PE, the exact uniform for PE. The PE teachers would like navy blue shorts and the polo shirt that the students wear during the day. I beg your pardon, black shorts, black shorts and the polo shirt and the half zip hoodie if they need it. Sinna méid tá manana ecal fí láthair ón má tá ggéireacht rastin sin.
Super, yeah, Gormaga Stefan. So just ag bug raig, and hopefully the next slide up there is clubbing agus sport. So tá sé an tábhachtach ghuiil daltaí ag ghlacha páirt is na rudí tagtáirlas at school. So it's very important that students, especially in first year, are taking part in extracurricular activities in the school. So you'll see we have football, we have hurling, we have soccer, we have basketball, and we have rowing. Now, not all these activities happen at the same time of year because it depends on the sport, and some of them, I think boys basketball would start maybe a bit later in the year.
Yeah, for the first years and second years, the way it tends to happen is the competitions are up and running now for under 19s and under 16s, because they need to finish before Christmas, before those students are setting into exam time. So definitely for basketball and some of the other sports, the first and second year competitions don't start until after Christmas.
Yep, lovely. Also, this year we've introduced a number of zones where we've activities happening at lunchtime. So the library is open 4 days a week, which is lovely for students who want a quieter place, who want to read, who want to just take a bit of time out from a busy school. We have a music club on Tuesdays and Thursdays for students who play music or like to play music, and it's an area where they can meet up, have a chat, a bite to eat, and play a bit of music. And hopefully if we get the next big U2 band, that I can be their manager, and I'll be delighted at that point. But look, we're just trying to give them that place that they feel comfortable to play their music. We have Students' Council, which we'd have people from the first years on that, and we'll have elections for that very shortly. We have an Irish Language Leaders Club, so Coiste Gaeilge, Cinnery Gaeilge, and they're working towards, I suppose, developments with the Irish language within the school and imeachtaí activities in the school that the students will enjoy through Irish. We have a Coiste Glass as well, a Green School Committee, again, This is really important, especially in a school this size with different types of bins, at course all recycling. And, you know, so students might have an interest in any of these. And we have a games club as well, where students can just play games like chess. Again, we're just trying to create places where students feel comfortable during the day. So I suppose the last thing I'd say about this is never dull. Make sure your son or daughter is getting involved. It's fine that they come in here maybe with the same friends from primary school. That's not always the case. You know, sometimes you make new friends, or sometimes, you know, the old friendships are not the same. So it's very important that students make an effort to try new things, like the rowing, like the basketball, like the soccer, and meet new friends through that as well. So, Marlu, Katrina and Shin, cúpla nóiméad hin, bhí mar caint faoi na ábhar aránacha, the choice subjects. So at the moment, the students are spending 2 weeks sampling every choice subject, and you can see the list there on the left. Sorry, I have a bit of a head cold, so but the most important thing is that they're in school, that they're attending school, they get a chance to na hábhar seo a bhláise, that they get to sample these subjects. I will then be sending out an email to yourselves where you will have to go on to VSWare, and you will have to choose in order of preference 1, 2, 3, 4, which are the subjects they like most. So don't worry, I'll be sending information out about this. But for me, I just have to make it very clear, we can't give every subject to every student. So we're working with the timetable we have. We've done our best to make sure we give as many options as students. But if everybody wants to do art, well, I can only fit 24 people in the art room. But what we do try to do is make sure that everybody will get their first or second preference, at least that much. But we cannot guarantee which one. Some might get first and second, depending on what they choose. But I will be sending out further information about this later in the year. An Gaeilge, an caith mé rá ag an buinte seo, Gael bliana hain iontach ag leabhar Gaeilge. Definitely an grúp is fearr atá going faoi láthair, agus tá siad an dearfach faoi. So as I was just saying there, our first years are excellent at speaking Gaeilge every day. I'm really enjoying walking around and hearing them just speaking on Gaeilge, and that it is, as our goal of school is, that they're speaking it as socially with their friends, and that the language is alive at break time, at lunchtime, and outside of school. So we would encourage you as parents and guardians, please keep promoting this. It is very important. We're part of the Sgé Matheantas mar Scoil Gaeltachta. You would have seen the newsletter we sent out this way about our plan on Gaeilge. And it's very important that for themselves, as we are a Scoil Gaeltachta, we're a school in the Gaeltacht, and Gaeilge is one of our #1 goals and #1 reasons why you're here. I've sent your students to this school. So we do have rules, unfortunately. That's the MWILU, detention on Friday for speaking English, where the students work on a portfolio of work that will benefit them. It's not that they're sitting there doing nothing, it's to benefit and help them with their Irish. But really, just your support is very important in this. They need their Irish, they need to improve their Irish. The only way they can do that is by using it socially at break time, at lunchtime, and as much as possible. And they'll certainly succeed if they do. On the positive side of Gaeilge, what are we doing? So we have comórtas na Bondi. You'll see students coming home with Bondi ar na lámha and Shin. We've Bondi Glasa and Bondi Bána. You get different Bondi for different levels of using Gaeilge. And then every month, the class with the most Bondi will get a prize. It could be a pizza party, it could be a film, it could be something. So it's just a nice carrot there we're putting out there for the class, a class project. Equally, we have comórtas na Scáilán. So up on we have 6 or 7 screens around the school, and students will see that there's Shanachal proverbs or phrases in Irish that are half finished. And the students can enter those competitions, and each week we're given 2 vouchers to Treat Cafe, which is in our canteen here, and the students will get a free meal out of that. So again, a nice little perk there for the students to get involved with the Irish. On a more serious note, we have a Rang Takeíochta Bhreis of Gaeilge, an additional Irish support class, on Day Mort and Day Déireadh, running for the next, I say, 4 to 5 weeks, and then we run again in January to March. So if you think your student is struggling with their Gaeilge, please email me. and we will add them to a list, and they can attend this class, and it will definitely benefit a student that needs that bit of help. We also, in first year, we have an additional Irish class on Scheme Atlantis, the Gaeltacht Recognition Scheme class. In this class, we are, from the assessment that you did last May, we have zoned in on the common mistakes, the button, the grammatical errors that students are making in general, and we're using this class to focus on those errors and work with the students as a whole group and work on that. Also, we have a Kuntra Tianga, a language assistant, who's in that class, and she will be bringing, I suppose, another side to that class where she'll be doing singing, dancing, and kind of the cultural side of the Irish language will be brought into class in that part as well. So really, I suppose, with the Custa Gaeilge at the end, where first year students will be on this Custa, we have a lot of positives going on in the school, a lot of activities to promote the Gaeilge, and I hope you can see that, and I hope that you can, I suppose, support that at home as well. So just 2 more slides and we're nearly there. In first year, students complete a number of modules, and between first year, second year and third year, they do 400 hours of wellbeing. Okay, this came in 2 years ago as part of all schools' timetable that they must have these hours in it. So just to let you know, in this school, to students, they have wrong air, ag banish to me fain, managing myself. So in this class, we'll be doing, I suppose, homework skills, study skills, coping with different subjects, and just being organised. Then they'll move on after a couple of weeks and they're doing computer skills, the basics of Office 365, Excel, Word, everything that we use on a daily basis, and safety online as well, which is very important. Then they'll move on and do something completely different, some meditation, Pilates, kind of dancing, and just, again, that's purely from a well-being point of view. And finally, then they'll spend a number of weeks in the school library, and I suppose getting them used to the library and what the library really is there for, a chance to sit down and read some excellent books, and we have a lovely library here. So that's part of some of the subjects that students will be doing as modules, and they rotate every couple of weeks. So I'm just going to go back to Stefan and say there, Stefan, Irodella, I go to Shin.
Anjartella on Keshna and Shaw Major Star on Thursday. So that's the history tour. That's going to happen on Wednesday, the 4th of October. So Wednesday, the 4th of October for the history tour. Questions regarding sport. Not all of the sports have started training yet, but they will. The sports for which we have facilitators or teachers, they will be starting between now and Christmas. And Owen can speak to this perhaps, but I know there's big efforts being made to try and mirror what's available for boys and make that available for girls as well. But we are attending and we are competing in regional and local competitions. So many of those are, organised for boys, maybe more so than girls. And so therefore that's maybe why there's more of the sport for boys that has taken place already. So níl sam bhfuil éonrad le rá ar sinne ón ar sport na Galíní, but tá iarachtaí dhéanamh in the le nach chuid.
Yeah, I suppose the biggest things we struggle sometimes to offer every sport going, and that's the reality, that it can be difficult to especially then with students going home on buses, that you could organise a training session, but most of the students could be actually gone on the bus because they have to get home. Sometimes we organise training on a Friday. Again, that can cause difficulties for parents as well. But look, we do try to offer as much as we can. And again, if you have any suggestions, please send me an email and we'll definitely discuss it and look into it, and we'll do our best if we can.
And just also on that, as I said earlier, in most of the sports, the competitions are focusing in on under 16 and under 19 at the moment. And then after Christmas, there's a separate competition maybe for first years and a separate one for second years. That's the way it works with basketball. So under 19 and under 16 now until maybe the end of November. And then first years, there's a first year team and a second year team separately that would start their matches after Christmas.
Okay, Katrina.
And tá ceist module in the lower, so on the lower agus on meach and it's Somala Scola. So the weight of the school bag on the basis of students carrying books perhaps that they don't need. So we will, of course, you've reminded us that for teachers to remind students that, you know, at the end of the day, or give them an opportunity to leave if they're worried about catching a bus and that they won't have time to leave the books that they won't need that evening in the locker. Give them a little time to do that. That's absolutely vital, so that they're not carrying too much. In fact, some of the stuff can't even fit into the bag. So we will
I might just come in there, Stefan, as well. Just sure. I see a lot of first years at the moment, and they're using those plastic pockets to keep all the stuff for one subject in. And while that's a great idea for them to get organised, what's kind of happening is that those pockets are full, and then they're carrying the full pocket with them that might have a book and a workbook and a notebook and a copy and a dictionary or something extra like that in it. And in a lot of the cases, they actually don't need to bring all of those stuff around with them, or all of those stuff at home with them. So there might be many elements to the subject, but for the actual classes, they may not need to be. It was something actually that I noticed with my own group today when they were at the Tashkadan, that some of the folders they have, the plastic folders, are very large, and that maybe there might be 2 books for the subject, but they might need both books for the subjects, or there might be a book and a workbook, and they don't need to have both of them with them. You know, they need to be asking their teachers as well. And I would have said to my maths class, you know, the main things I want you to have is your homework copy and your notes. And I'm not too pushed if you have your actual physical book with you, because I can put it up on the screen when they're working away from the book. So, you know, maybe sit with them and see, in these pouches, some of them are very, very large, and do they actually need to be carrying all that stuff for those subjects with them around the school, or do they need to bring every single bit of it home as well?
Okay, yeah. Carmela, Michael, Katrina?
Yeah. Kerstel and Chin Modulation Treat Cafe. So, when is the top Treat Cafe card available? Tá Cortish in our fall feel that card is available.
Cortish in our fall, and I've given those cards out to all first years now. If a student was missing, just please tell them to call into me here. I've plenty of cards left here, so just tell the student to call into me in the office. Chance Greshid Oslo or Aaron Law. Maybe they're absent on the day. So if you,
I know you're under pressure, but just one last or 2 last questions. One was regarding a second user, a second login for a second parent. Of course, that's possible. The format for mum and dad are registered on VSware. If you use your first name dot your second name, that's the normal format. But if that's not working, we may have spelt your name in a way that you don't normally spell it, and it's not working for you. Just give us a ring or send Katrina or myself an email, and I'll look into that for you and return to you immediately with the username as is on VSware for you, and then you can use that and hit change. When you put in your username, hit change password, and you can generate yourself a password, and 2 separate logins are allowed.
Okay, Gurmila Maga, Stefan and Shin. Just finally from me, before I hand you over to Neil here, just most of our, I suppose, the stories, the events, the himachtaí Tautarlas, the skull, Einra Tautarlu, Crumitsus, and a man Hoshilta. So the social media, the school social media is our Facebook, our Twitter, and our Instagram account. So it would be great if you follow us. You will probably learn a lot about what's going on in the school on a daily basis by following this. And then Steve Nascola, the school website, is where I put up, I suppose, more important stuff. You're talking about news, important stuff like this presentation, important dates in the diary. You'll find it on the school website. So, to Niart Keshin Falka, Big Mahane Stefan and Shaw, a Curfragri low, and we will do our best to answer them. I'm going to hand you over here to Neil Wilson. Neil is with the Western Region Drugs Alcohol Task Force, and he's here to discuss the Planet Youth, I suppose, and Planet Youth survey that has been going on over the last couple of years. This is, if I'm right, Neil, in the Roscommon, Galway, Mayo region, and nearly 5,000 students, including Closh and Curb over the last couple of years, have been involved in this research. So this research is very much our students as well. And Neil, I'm delighted I was able to make it here today, and he's going to just for the next 10 minutes just go through, I suppose, what they're seeing and what the research is showing regarding students of first year age group. So Neil, hopefully this works now. I'm going to try and give you presenter rights here, and I'm just going to, let's see how that goes.
Right, forgive the small interruption if it doesn't quite work out, but I'm sure we'll try and make this work. So this is looking promising. This is looking very promising, and we should have Planet Youth up in front of you now. Yep.
1 second now, Neil. I'm not seeing it
showing
yet.
Up with the logo there.
No, we're not seeing it yet. No.
Just see.
We can see your picture, Neil, but not, and Owen, but not the screen yet.
Let me just go back in there 1 second. Sorry to hold you up, people. That okay. Open share tray, and here we go. I think you probably need to give me control there.
Now we have it. Yeah.
You're having it on Planet Youth now. There. Lovely. Technical things worked out the way. Thanks for inviting us. I work with Emmett Major, who runs Planet. Well, I say runs. He's the main sort of coordinator in this area, and it's been a pleasure visiting the school over the years. I'm the education worker for the Western Region Drug and Alcohol Task Force. So we work behind the scenes on many different projects to do it, be it with education and health and, you know, in terms of Gardaí and all sorts of different things, basically anything connected to do with drugs or alcohol. And this is just to tee up for you a little bit about what happens around what's called Planet Youth, which some of you may have heard of, and some of the results that we're kind of getting from it. So the point about Planet Youth is we're trying to improve the long-term health results for our students and their life outcomes. You know, we all want to have, you know, positive students going into the future and to achieve whatever they want to achieve in life. And really, we call this primary prevention. We're trying to work on those things that decrease the risk factors in terms of using drugs or alcohol, but many other sort of areas as well. It's not just about drugs and alcohol, but as a task force, that's obviously our sort of primary interest. And to try and increase those positive factors that are in people's lives, what we would call the prevention factors. All right, and that's where we're at. And this is the website, which you're very, very welcome to have a look at anytime. You'll find loads of really good stuff on there. We are the pilot for the country. So although you'll hear about it being rolled out elsewhere, we've been at it for sort of longer, and we're the sort of test bed for it. And as you were just saying, the main thing is that it involves a very complex survey. It's not complex, just complicated, I guess, that happens every couple of years. So we really get a really good in-depth picture of where our young people are at. And we're able to provide the school, and a lot of schools find this very useful. It doesn't individualize the information, but it gives very detailed information about what is happening about their school cohort and what is happening with them. Because think about what's happening. If we're just thinking about it in terms of drugs and alcohol, the key thing that we want to do is trying to reduce those key metrics. So in terms of people being young people, and this is aimed at 15, 16-year-olds, that's where the survey is done. We want to try and reduce those figures of our young people who have been drunk within the last month. We'd like to reduce the figures of those who have tried cannabis, and we'd like to reduce the numbers of those who are taking up smoking. All right, so they are our key metrics that we're looking at. And obviously there's other things involved these days, like vaping and things, for instance. But the key point is that's where we're wanting to go. Now, unfortunately, these are the figures for Iceland, not Ireland. We might only be one letter different, but in many ways we're similar countries. Well, I think we share an awful lot, but we're very different in other ways as well. They're a lot smaller country. But they really took the bull by the horns, as it were, back in the late 1990s. and they had the worst figures in Europe in terms of children becoming drunk, say within the last month, and they also had some of the highest, if not quite the highest, for those smoking on a daily basis or had tried cannabis. So they've had a very long incremental campaign, which is their Planet Youth, and they've gone from the worst figures in Europe to the best. And so, not surprisingly, a lot of other countries, including Ireland, have, you know, taken up and taken notice. You know, what are the people in Iceland doing, and how can we replicate or pick, you know, the aspects of that and use it in our own countries, in our own region. And that's really what Planet Youth is about more than anything else. So it's primary prevention. We're looking at those areas that help to give good outcomes for young people. So the avoidance as far as possible, or as long as possible, of alcohol and other drugs, to increase that physical activity, to certainly consider where screen use is a problem. And, you know, whilst there are concerns around that, it's kind of more the fact that then they're not doing other activities which are positive, in terms, as you were just talking about earlier, in terms of just having good conversations and social skills, or indeed physical sport and things like that. We certainly want to look and support their mental health. Very, very important. And that's particularly come into focus, obviously, following, you know, COVID, etc. And also the effect that sleep has on people. There's been a series of surveys, and your students will, presuming that funding is in place, be involved in future ones. And it's quite an undertaking. We have quite a disgusting carbon footprint, I'm afraid to say, which this is from a few years back. We are working on that massively, and most schools now in future surveys will be doing it in terms of using laptops and things. So we'll cut down our carbon footprint. But I think these pictures do just show, when we're surveying all schools across the Western region, quite what an undertaking it is, just in terms of sheer paperwork there. What we're trying to do is those preventative factors, it's picking it from all different sides that our young people see, with our young people in the centre. So while school is very important, they are only at school, to be fair, for a certain amount of time. You know, if you work it out during, you know, average week, and then you take out holidays out, school has a big effect, but there's plenty more that involve in terms of helping to, you know, produce hopefully a well-rounded young people. Certainly the peer group has a lot to do with it, what they do in their leisure time, and of course parents and family, and on a wider basis what happens in the community, in your case obviously specifically Athenry. So our young people, our greatest resource, that's what we're really looking at, trying to improve and help. And Summer Planet Youth actually delves down back into providing sessions and advice and things for parents, even at the national school level as well. So you may already have come across these already, in terms of parent power, very useful kind of information, and just to looking at how we can focus on the well-being of our young people. That's very useful. And you will also get this provided by the school. We've sent them out to the school, and presumably we'll organise the delivery of them. Some guidelines for parents, and this is really, you know, some advice. And the thing is, the more parents kind of keep with this and sing from the same song sheet, as it were, the more likely it is that students will feel comfortable sort of following it and not buck against it. And one of those areas, again, time and time again, we can show when there's sufficient sleep involved, then the outcomes are better for many, many different outcomes in terms of health, in terms of prevention factors. And there's information there around trying to stick to, I mean, it doesn't have to be exact, but a rough kind of bedtime. And that's something that, again, that research has shown to be very useful, that teenagers are getting 8 to 10 hours of undisturbed sleep. And that is particularly makes sense, that undisturbed bit, that they don't take the phones or the iPads or whatever it might be up in the evening with them as well, because those sort of bings and stuff through the night, they may be up kind of watching stuff anyway. But even if they're asleep, the brain is not really fully sleeping properly if there's always those little alerts coming through from, you know, whatever social app that they happen to be into these days. So yeah, that's more pictures of boxes. I think Emmett loves pictures of boxes. We'll give him that. So the booklet which you'll get through has a lot of useful information, so do feel free to look at it, and you'll find some useful stats and things in there, and hopefully some useful advice as well. One of the things that it kind of picks out as well is that we can say is a very positive factor is getting people involved in hobbies and sports, that supervised positive activity. And I know the school does a lot of great work in that, but also, you know, it's good to support it in terms of out of school as well. Few bit stats and then I'll finish up. This is what the stats from Planet Youth are telling us, and this is why we can see that it's kind of so important. One of the things that we find is absolutely key is what students themselves perceive as parental tolerance. All right, so this is if we match the amount of students, 15, 16-year-olds who said they were drunk in the last month, compared to what the students themselves said their parents thought about it. All right, now, you know, what your attitude is might be quite different to what the student thinks, but certainly parents who, you know, profess that they were, you know, really kind of very upset and etc. About a student getting themselves into a situation when they were drunk, it seems to be a lot lower figures would actually kind of go through knowing that knowledge and then getting drunk. Whereas, you know, parents who the child themselves perceives that parents don't care about it, which may or may not be true, that you know, that's just that feeling in itself, that knowledge or what they think is going on would certainly mean that more likely that you know, that they do drink and possibly get drunk. So I've already mentioned about bedtimes, and that's giving you some kind of clear advice in the adverts that in the guidelines that will come out. And if we're talking about sleeping, again, if we kind of match how much our students are getting, if we look at Planet Youth, the recommended amount from the kind of sleep experts is that they get 8 hours or more uninterrupted sleep a day. And it would seem the case that looking in the Western region, less than half of them are actually getting that. So the more that we can kind of agree as parents and try and, you know, put that into place, the better it's going to be for everyone. And it's about getting that as a collective effort more than anything else. And certainly because we can see it in terms of consequences. Those that get good sleep tend to, on the whole, as you can see, very significant figures here, tend to report good mental health as well. And indeed, they do tend to report better well-being, so less illnesses and things like that as well. And indeed, we can also see that in terms of school engagement as well. Whatever measure you want to pick, there's a very clear connection, even with stress as well. So sleep is a good thing. That is no argument about that. All right. Do you have a phone in your bedroom at night? Very high figures really like that. That's something that we can certainly know. That's what the figures are telling us. And this is something that I think is really key that we can kind of work on by negotiation, by reasonableness, if I could even say it, and kind of working that out. So these are some suggestions. I'll come towards the end here now. It's about kind of us working together on this, putting in phones away overnight. And the more that we do it as well as parents, the more likely it's going to be kind of followed. All right. And some of those things that you can actually use the technology to help you in that as well. I'm no good with that sort of thing, but I'm sure many of you are very good about it. And of course, a lot of the online stuff, there's a lot of good advice from WebWise as well. It's about us working together as parents, and you'll hear more from information about Planet Youth, and there will be information coming from the school and from ourselves through websites and things like that. Once parents work together, we connect with other parents, share our kind of concerns and things with each other. We share kind of common boundaries. we're involved with the school, and they're involved, be it with school and out of school events and all that sort of thing, the more hopefully we're going to get better outcomes for our young people. Here's just an example of the kind of web-based things that we kind of offer, and we'll put those out through the schools on a regular kind of basis. If you want to look at it more in depth with lots of stats, there's lots of reports that are produced, and that essentially is it. Hopefully in a reasonable sort of amount of time.
Yep.
And hopefully you found that useful kind of information for you. Thanks very much for listening to me. Much appreciated.
Gurmila Mahagut, Neil and Shane, thanks very much, Neil, for information. So we'll be sending out that information as soon as we get it later in the week. I think you're saying those booklets to be coming in. So that's brilliant. Accorda, we still have questions coming in there. To Mahane Stefan, Danaver Nihil, Fragri, Curlin, Heshtana. I suppose we will keep answering those questions. If we don't get to answer all your questions tonight, please email myself, Katrina, or Stefan, Tomlin Shaw, Kunkaru, Le Vor, Nalty. We're here to help your son or daughter, but just contact us, email us, ring the school. And if you have any concern, especially first year, they're a month into school, we understand there's a lot going on, and it can be confusing. So just please contact us and we'll get back to you. And we're in the beginning of a journey of 6 years here. So we just want to get everybody going as best possible. And just concrete do Mahane, and I'll let Stefan come in there, or do Stefan Kupla Vitigir.
Yeah, we met just to get out to Keshton Shinfree coffee morning, just to announce that there will be a coffee morning for first year students in the early October. The date hasn't been fully confirmed yet, but it'll be a Friday morning from 9 to 10 or 10:30 before the first years come out for their break. And it's a lovely social occasion. One of the parents just asked there will there be opportunities to meet. The Keshton Dishsi organised that, and it's a nice morning.
Okay, I think we just Kyle or Stefan and Chin, I get no Modernuk, but yeah, we got 99% of it there, Stefan, so that's perfect. So just Cooperod Wemsha, Ibrahim, Marduart, Katrina, Tublina Hain, Tana Dalti Gohintuk. They really are, they're a great group. And it's just obvious by walking around, they enjoy having the chats. Keep that going. It's brilliant. So we're delighted with the work and the progress they've made in the first 5 weeks. As Katrina said, a few important things. Early to school. It's just the day starts so much easier for them. If they're early, they've a few minutes to go to locker and get organised. Homework journal, again, yes, they're in secondary school, but they need to be monitored in relation to have they written everything in the journal. If they haven't, well, then they need to, but it has to come from you at home. So just make sure, as Katrina outlined on that homework journal, and she's has her hand up here.
To see him. I just wanted to say as well, it's very important at this stage. The students have been given a few opportunities to write in their timetable on the journal, but I picked up a couple of journals there during the week, and there was no timetable written in. And I asked the student, how do you know what you have next? How do you know where you're going? And the student said to me, I just follow the crowd. So while it's nice that they're moving in crowds and so on, it's very important that each student has their own timetable written in, and that they can take responsibility of being at the class on time without waiting for a big bunch of people to move at the same time. So that's another thing that will help them organise themselves. I can't imagine how they could be organised if they actually don't even have their actual timetable with them at all times.
Good morning, Katrina. And just, yeah, what else was I just going to say very quickly? Yeah, homework, as Neil was saying there, it's just really important, and we see this happening quite a lot when we have meetings with parents, when we have to have these meetings, that the homework has been done in their bedroom with their phones with nobody present. So I'm just saying it is really important that they do the homework at the kitchen table, even if it's the hook. If it's a very busy place, it's better that they're there close by and that the phone is not beside him, okay, or that you can at least see what's going on with him. It's just, these are the things we see happening more and more, and the phones are definitely becoming a bigger issue every year. Yeah, just sinna métá le rágum nach tá mí glucna cricne tá sé detre se hocht. Tá mí an bhuíochtaíomh asach bheith láthair linn. Thank you very much for being present with us tonight online. Go míle maith agat, and thank you to Neil as well for going through the Planet Youth survey and the invaluable information that's to be found in that survey, and we will be sending out those booklets in the next week as well. Mhuíchas le Stefan atá ar lína lum anseo, agus Katrina atá lum sinific anseo chun mar Iran tá míid gléir anseo. We're here as a team, I suppose, and that's the most important thing. Chun cúnamh and to give support to your son or daughter during school. So as I said, we're 5 weeks in. They have done brilliantly so far. Again, I'm sure there's one or two, who will always, there'll be a struggle here and there. But if there is, please, contact us, and we'll help them and try and do whatever we can. But the most important thing is that that you contact us and that we don't let things slide during the year. So, sin bhfuil muimse, just gur míle mágah asacht a bheith linn, agus fogam slán libh ó mé héin, Katrina agus Stefan, Turara, slán libh.